Hello, my name's David Seaman, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. How are you? Hope I find you well. Thank you so much for the feedback on the recent episodes. There was, of course, the one with Jordan Halston, looking back on Euro 2024, and the most recent one, looking at Lee Carsley as the new interim manager for our men's side. Both are still available at your podcast provider of choice, or, of course, threelionspodcast.com. And with the Euros becoming a distant memory for us all now, the season about to commence, I wanted to refresh my memory, basically, on the Lionesses. Because whilst we were in action in Germany, and as I said at the time, I was going to concentrate on that. But the Lionesses were also in action at that time. Now I know there's podcasts out there that concentrate on the women, but for more the casual watcher, casual listener, this is with you in mind. Now I last looked at the Lionesses back in April, when they were about to face Sweden and Ireland in their opening Euro 2025 qualifying matches. France were also in that group. So I thought, let's briefly cover those. Those matches, well, they were played in pairs in April, May and June and July. It really was. It was the 5th of April. I can't believe it was this long ago. It was a game I took my daughter to at Wembley. It was at home to Sweden. Now, it wasn't the best performance, with the game ending 1-1. Alessia Russo scored the opener, but basically we allowed Sweden to creep back in, and there they equalised. 4 days later, they crossed the Irish Sea to face the Republic of Ireland. First half goals from Lauren James and a penalty from Alex Greenwood saw the Lionesses come away with a 2-0 win and all 3 points. Now, at the time, the group table saw France top with 6 points and the Lionesses second with 4. On to late May and early June, that saw a double header with France. Now, that began with the home match played up at Newcastle St James's Park. Now, this was a similar time to when the men also played up at Newcastle in their game against Bosnia and Herzegovina. But back to the women. They took the lead through a Beth Mead goal, but the French replied with 2, taking all 3 points with a 2-1 victory. Now, the return leg took place in St Etienne in early June. This time, England had the bit between their teeth and they reversed that scoreline, winning 2-1 themselves thanks to first half goals from Georgia Stanway and Alessia Russo. France was still top of the group, now with 9 points. England with 7. However, Sweden had won both their games against Ireland in the same period, so they also had 7 points. It was getting close. Into July, and the final games were played. Qualification could still go either way. Basically, the top 2 in the group qualify for Euro 2025 in Switzerland, and the third place goes into a playoff. Now, we faced Ireland at Carrow Road in Norwich. France would play Sweden in matchday 5. And just as they had done in France, Georgia Stanway and Alessia Russo scored the goals on a damp day there in Norfolk, before Ireland scored a consolation with a minute left on the clock. France beat Sweden, meaning they remained top of the group by 2 points. Now, the last game for the Lionesses was away to Sweden in Gothenburg. Not the most spectacular of games, ended 0-0. But the game in Cork, Ireland, the Irish surprisingly beat the French 3-1. But the result didn't matter. France remained top of the group and England second, both qualifying automatically for Euro 2025. That's next year. Sweden third and would go into a playoff match in October. Incidentally, though, it was a game that brought to an end an impressive run. This is quite the stat. The Lionesses, prior to that game, had scored in each of their previous 21 away games. But the main objective was to qualify and have the opportunity to retain the trophy won in 2022. So, job done. Whilst it was 6 games with plenty of familiar names, there were a couple of new names Sarina Wiegman brought in for experience. Aggie Beever-Jones of Chelsea made her debut coming on as a sub in the victory over Ireland at Norwich. Tottenham's Jessica Naz also in the same game. Speaking of players, there have already been some who have moved clubs since the WSL season finished on the 18th of May. Let's just take a minute to go through those now. These are just the ones who have a connection with the Lionesses. Now, the first real big ones were Mary Earps, the goalkeeper, who left Manchester United to join Paris Saint-Germain. That was back on the 1st of July. And then on the 17th of July, Lucy Bronze, after 2 good years at Barcelona, winning pretty much everything there was to win there, including the Champions League, she has come home and joined Chelsea. Katie Robinson, formerly of Brighton, joined Aston Villa. She's a forward who has won 5 caps for the Lionesses. And whilst she left Brighton, in came former England favourite Fran Kirby, who left Chelsea for the South Coast side. Manchester City, well, they've had a bit of a clear out. Leaving there include Esme Morgan, who has joined Washington Spirit in the NWSL, the American League. Goalkeeper Ellie Roebuck has joined Barcelona, and Demi Stokes has joined Newcastle United. Katie Zellum has left the red side of Manchester at the end of her contract. She has also gone stateside and joined Angel City. It's a side based in Los Angeles. And then the most recent was Jess Carter, who left Chelsea. She has also gone to an American side, Gotham FC. So when it comes to Sarina Wiegman calling up some players for the future games, and I'll come to that in a second, there's going to be a few making some transatlantic flights back to England. Now, the WSL season begins towards the end of September, 21st and 22nd of September. International dates have been put into the calendar, and just at the end of July, the Lionesses announced 4 of those fixtures for the autumn and winter. Qualification for Euro 2025 done and dusted, and no Nations League matches until February next year. Those fixtures, well, they're just friendlies. So penciled in the 25th of October, Germany at Wembley. Tickets are already on sale for that. Just head to wembleystadium.com, you'll find them there. 29th of October, South Africa at Coventry. You may remember that the Lionesses played Italy at Coventry in February 2023. I think that was one of the games in the Arnold Clark Cup. 30th of November, we return to Wembley to play the USA. Now that will be an interesting one, and I'll come to that in a moment. The 3rd of December, Switzerland at Bramall Lane in Sheffield. Of course, Bramall Lane holds happy memories for the Lionesses. The semi-final was played there for the Euro 2022 when they recorded a 4-0 victory over Sweden there. Now, I mentioned the USA at Wembley because I want to mention Emma Hayes. Now, Emma Hayes, back in early November of 2023, she announced she'd be leaving Chelsea at the end of the season to pursue other opportunities outside of the WSL and outside of club football. 2 weeks later, she was unveiled as the new coach of the USA women's national team. So just over 2 months into the position, she and her team had secured gold at the Paris Olympics. Congratulations to them. Of course, the Olympics wasn't something Team GB were in this time around. And you do wonder, as time goes on, will Emma Hayes ever be in contention for the top Lionesses position? I'm sure, no doubt she will. But yeah, this fixture, United States at Wembley on the 30th of November, will see Emma Hayes face England in those Wembley dugouts. Interesting. And now, before we wrap up, I also want to mention the under-19 England side. During the summer, they took part in the under-19s Women's European Championships held in Lithuania. It's a competition that has been won by England, but you have to go back to 2009 for that victory. That was when the likes of Lucy Bronze, Tony Duggan, Jordan Nobbs, Izzy Christiansen, they were all part of that victorious team. Now, this was a tournament, this 2024 tournament, featured 8 teams split across 2 groups of 4. Now, the young Lionesses were drawn in a group consisting of France, Serbia and the hosts, Lithuania. Now, the girls topped it, beating Lithuania 10-0 in their opener. They then drew with Serbia, and then there was a 1-0 victory over France. It meant that they were into the semi-finals, where they met Spain, who finished second in their group behind the Netherlands. Now, unfortunately, Spain were a force too strong, winning 3-1, and they would go on to win the competition. But congratulations to head coach John Griffiths and all the players, many of whom I'm sure will work their way into the game, and I'm sure we'll see some of them in the full senior side in the next few years to come. And just one more thing before I leave you. Something that's been happening periodically over the summer, which has been a great initiative for the women's game, and it's been helped along through the Football Foundation. Now, it's encouraging younger girls to get involved in playing, and it has been the naming of pitches in various areas of the country after our victorious Lionesses. Leah Williamson has had a pitch named after her in Newport Pagnell. Farrah Williams had one named after her at St George's Park. Lauren Hemp has had one named after her in Horsford in Norfolk. And then there was the Millie Bright pitch in Sheffield. Now, it may seem such a small thing, but going forward, you'd hope that this will inspire many young players, many young girls to play, and more importantly, have a safe place to play. So, yeah, well done to the Football Foundation. And yeah, hopefully we'll see many more pitches named after our Lionesses. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you found it just informative. Just some of the recent information about our Lionesses. I will be back with you. I'm going to take a week off. I'm going away. I will be back with you very soon. I will be back in time for the senior men's games against Ireland and Finland. I'll be bringing you everything you need to know about those 2 games coming up. Don't forget, you can follow the show on social media. Just search 3 Lions Podcast. Give it a follow, give it a like, say hi. It's always good to hear from you. Send me a message. I look forward to hearing from you. So until then, take care of yourselves. Cheers.